Hello, thank you for joining the webinar. We're going to get started here in about 5 minutes. Just wanted to welcome you and thank you. If you can, feel free to text in the text box just to make sure it's working correctly. Tell me where you're from. I have it on mute for the call just to make sure we're eliminating background noise, but I can, if you have a camera on, I could see you. And if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box and I'll work on getting to those. Hi, Lori, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. All right, we got more people joining here. We'll give it a few minutes, let everybody get situated. I know that tech issues are always fun, and if you want to enable your camera, you're welcome to do so. If you want to keep it off, that's no problem at all. Like I mentioned, for those who are now just joining, it will be muted, so I can't hear you. So feel free to text in the chat box, and I'll answer some initial questions as we prepare to get started. And then what we'll do is at the very end, we'll do a question and answer. Again, just along the way, feel free to ask questions, and I will answer them at the end of the call and try to get to everybody. All right. So please, if you can, in the text box, tell me where you're from. Love to see where you're all from. Thanks for joining, Dan. Appreciate it. Dan, where are you from? Go ahead, and for those who are just joining, I can't hear you. I muted everybody because typically we will run into issues with background noise, and it can be a problem and a challenge to hear things. But feel free to text in that chat box. It's available to ask questions. And what we'll do is we'll, over the course of the presentation, if you have any questions, please type those in the box, and we will get to as many as we can. Hey, Dan, it's your face. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Southern California, we got Grand Forks, North Dakota, Spokane. All right. I'm pasting in the chat box the one-on-one call. Ultimately, assuming we go through this presentation and there's information and you'd like me to help you, I'd love the opportunity to have you book a one-on-one call with me, and we'll spend some time on the phone going into more detail if this presentation doesn't cover everything. Wenatchee, welcome, Cassandra. My son actually almost went to Wenatchee Community College, but then transferred out. But that's a cool place in Washington. Beautiful. All right. If you're just joining us and you haven't introduced where you're from, please, if you can, text in the chat box where you're calling in from. All right, we're right at 7 o'clock. Bear with me, maybe give it just a couple more minutes. We got more and more people joining, so I just want to give everybody a chance to work through their potential tech issues, if there are any. I've gone through webinars on my own time before and had run into logging in correctly, so I want to make sure we give them the opportunity to work through that. Hi, Dana. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so today was a beautiful day here in North Idaho. We had a 63-degree weather, clear skies. Well, blue skies with scattered clouds. The weather is definitely changing, and we're coming into spring. It's absolutely beautiful. So definitely nice to go out there and stare at the sun a little bit, get some direct vitamin D. And I'm going to answer questions at the very end. But please, as we go, ask some questions, type it in the text box, and I will spend some time working through those questions. Kelly, just I can answer right now, at least for getting started. It's super dog friendly. It's definitely a state that loves their dogs. I'm a big fan of dogs myself, so definitely favorable for dogs. Oh wow, I got some snow and slush and cool temperatures out there. Yeah, definitely. It's my partner who's on the call with me as well. He's getting snow currently, and so it's definitely we still got some winter weather around here. Awesome. All right. Give me one more minute. I appreciate your patience. Bev and Craig, thanks for joining. Some wonderful clients of mine. Appreciate you guys joining. Here, I'm going to text this here in the box again. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box and I will address them at the very end of the presentation. And then, like I said, the goal with this presentation would be to book a one-on-one call with me to kind of explore what your goals are. If anything, just answer questions. I'm here to answer questions and work through everything that I could possibly work through with you to, get you to North Idaho. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to, first of all, just welcome everybody. And I really do appreciate you spending your time this evening with me. And I want to make this as informative as possible, but at the same time, I want to be careful with going into too much time. So I'm going to try to get everything accomplished within a half hour. We're going to burn through a lot of information. And like I said, at the very end of this presentation, I'll answer some direct questions. And so let's get started. So just real quick, this first slide in the presentation, this happens to be my wife and my father-in-law on the little North Fork of the Coeur d'Alene River. We were fly fishing last summer, so figured I'd show you a little snapshot in my world. Beautiful day out there fly fishing. So let me move on here. So the goal of this webinar, what I want to do and of course accomplish is, share a little bit about myself, my personal relocation story, because I've gone through it myself. I want to get into discussing some details about the state of the market, give you some insight to how things are looking in North Idaho. I'm going to go through a lot of details about North Idaho. So If you've got a pad and a pen, feel free to write down, some information that you learn through these slides. And of course, I can send you this presentation as well that will have all the same information, but it's definitely going to be compacted with a lot of information. We'll go into some question and answers. And then the goal, post once this webinar is completed, I'd love to book a one-on-one call with you, discuss your goals, timeline of relocation, and just put a plan in motion. And as I say, rescue you to North Idaho and help you join this beautiful area. A little bit about myself. I've been licensed since 2004. I am the owner of North Idaho Waterfront.com and a company called Exit California. That is a nationwide relocation company. So I have a little bit of knowledge on the relocation process. I've helped hundreds of clients in real estate over my time doing it. And I've been married for 20 years now. Actually, let's say in June, it'll be 20 years. My wife is a pediatric oncology nurse. We both graduated from California Baptist University. I played baseball there. She played volleyball. And I also spent some time coaching college baseball. So I'm a big baseball fan, big sports fan in general. I've got two awesome sons. They're 18 and 15. And my oldest is a college left-handed pitcher at Spokane Falls Community College. And my younger son is a sophomore at Lake City High School here in Coeur d'Alene area. We're avid fly fishers. My wife and I love to peel off and go fly fishing as much as possible. I'd do it every day if it was appropriate. And I just love everything outdoors. It's, this is obviously, when it comes to outdoor life and activity, this is the place to be. A little bit about my relocation story. I am a Southern California native, so I want to mention that. There was a time where my wife and I were at a point where we realized we were looking for something different, and we, raising two sons, and we really wanted to provide a life for them and a quality of life that was different than what we were experiencing. We were disgruntled with the way things were going in our state. And I think probably there's a lot of people that probably share the same concerns with maybe where they're coming from. Idaho certainly represents an area where you can move to and change your quality of life and have peace in raising your family, for those who have children. So we moved from 1,300 miles away from everything we ever knew. And it was a decision we made, and we were looking at different parts of the country. My wife actually had spent many years as a kid coming up here and vacationing with her family. My father-in-law was a police officer, and he wanted desperately to try and get his family up to North Idaho. Never worked out, but ultimately spent a lot of vacation time coming up here. And so when we were talking about relocating, she's like, hey, let's give North Idaho a look. And I obviously only have heard of it, never really spent much time looking into it. So we planned a vacation, we drove up here. And I'll tell you what, coming down the 90 highway from Montana into North Idaho and passing that beautiful Coeur d'Alene Lake, I just immediately realized that I was in a different world. And I was in awe, immediately. And so we spent some time here, and it was clear as crystal. This is where I wanted to be. So we put a plan in place. We came back up. She interviewed for her nursing position and got hired, and it was on. We realized at that point, okay, well, it's go time. We didn't know anybody, so we really took a huge risk, and came up here with really no family, no friends. And looking back with some hindsight, it was the best decision we ever made. I wanted to pioneer a new life for my family and for generations to follow. We were both Southern California natives, stuck in a very small box of where we both grew up. And it was, coming to North Idaho was an absolute blessing for our family. So, it's, North Idaho, as I go through these presentations, some of them are just fun facts, some of them are statistics, but 10 reasons that make North Idaho a great place to live. You got an opportunity to have more quality family time, which obviously we've taken advantage of and experienced in the 4 years that we've been here. We've grown closer as a family because we do everything outdoors. Freedom up here, it's very patriotic. 4 beautiful seasons, very distinctive seasons. I kind of always laugh how quickly seasons transition. It goes from summer and then you hit a brick wall and all of a sudden falls upon you. And then all of a sudden winter, just bam, one day it's snowing. So it's just really cool how distinctive the seasons are. Great economic and opportunity up here. It's safe. It's a safe community relative to the country. It's a very safe community. The great outdoors. There's incredible arts and culture up here. Higher education, colleges, within driving distance. Into Washington, over into Montana, down south, and here locally. The summer life's incredible, and the winter sports, of course, speak for themselves. So I wanted to kind of touch a little bit about the state of the market. I think that this is probably one of the bigger things that people, when I'm working with my clients, they're most curious by, because this market has changed significantly. And especially within just the last couple of years, and even more so just the last year. Everybody's trying to move here for all the reasons that we've kind of talked about so far. They're trying to escape from wherever they're at to move to a place that they feel safe, and North Idaho represents that for a lot of people. And so with that being said, it's really created a very competitive market. The demand to get into this market has driven prices through the roof. And, I want to be honest about that, and not necessarily sugarcoat things, but I think relative to the country, we're still, we're still in a good place. But at the same time, that's probably one sector of the line item in your budget that you're going to see probably a higher cost when it comes to living in North Idaho. With that, I'll get into some of the other cost of living factors that kind of absorb that, the mortgage, the homeowner's expense. So when it comes to, deciding if you want to make North Idaho a home, you need to be definitely ready. You need to be approved and ready to make an offer. Most of the time at ask price. It just depends, though. I want to be careful with saying that's always the case. Depending on the property and the competitiveness of that property, you're going to probably face competition in the way of multiple offers. So when I say be ready to make an offer at ask price, that's when it's going to, be a competitive situation. There's opportunities where you come across something that's been sitting on the market for a little bit, and there's usually some specific reasons for that. And, there may not be any activity on that. So when it comes to making an offer, we can look at it case by case and maybe make an offer less than what that property is listed for. It's really, this competition has changed the way that homes are sold. I mean, I see a lot of listings going on the market where the listing agent talks about the sellers are going to be making a decision on a very specific date, and they have the right to accept an offer before that date if they find that it's something that they're interested in. So it really has created kind of like this auction type of feel when it comes to writing an offer and getting it accepted. Like I said, there's a buyer bottleneck. Everybody's trying to get here, and there is a demand. New construction usually is something that helps absorb that demand. It creates an opportunity where you've got resale homes, and then you've got new construction homes popping up all over the place that helps maybe absorb, the demand of buyers. But because the new construction up here has kind of been a little bit slow, there are opportunities popping up, but it's not something that is outpacing the demand to live here. So that is a factor with, prices. Cash buyers are usually in command. When I say those, like 1 in 3 buyers are usually cash with no contingencies. That's, kind of a general statistic. Although I say that, I am starting to notice a lot more properties closing that have leveraged a loan. And so that's good. I like seeing that trend. And, back last year, the buyers were just in the droves. It was a breakneck market, and people were just jumping in without any discretion and offering ridiculous amounts of money above ask price, all cash. And it was just not healthy for the market. I'm starting to see that trend change a little bit. I wouldn't go as far as saying that prices have started to recede, but if anything, that prices are starting to, when it comes to the final closed or sold price, it's more in line with what the property was listed at versus 2.5% to 3% above listing price. Contingent buyers are usually in a disadvantaged situation, but again, if it's really in a competitive situation, if you have a property to sell, that's where a contingency might kind of hurt a little bit. So I got a solution at the end of this presentation that I can maybe share with you that, if you are a contingent buyer or you need to get a loan, I have maybe an idea that can, help with that. And yeah, so prices are more than what most people expect. They get up here and, obviously they're looking at, what's available in the market. And I think we're starting to find a lot of people get discouraged with the prices that they see, thinking that they're going to come up here and get a deal. There's not a whole lot of deals. There are opportunities, don't get me wrong. I say that though, like I said, I want to try to frame expectations a little bit and give you at least, something to expect when it comes to making an offer in this market. So moving along. So before the relocation, here's some things to think about. And, a lot of this stuff this information, you may already be, have thought of, but I also want to just kind of, work through as much information as possible. And if there's something that you learn along the way, that's obviously my goal of this presentation. So some of it may be redundant for you. So before the relocation, things to think about, just mentally commit, that's the biggest of hurdles, at least from my experience. You have to just kind of make that decision and, go for it. And once you kind of, I think, mentally commit to it, I think everything else starts to kind of fall in line. I think it's good to plan a visit. I talk to a lot of clients from different parts of the country with my website, North Idaho Waterfront. And I always say, hey, it's a good idea to come up here, visit, get a sense of what you're, potentially going to be getting into. And, obviously, once people get here, they realize how wonderful it is. And I also think it's a good idea to come up here during the winter and experience the winter. As far as the winter is concerned, I wouldn't say that they're, horrible winters. I think that it's every year it's a little bit different, but from my experience so far, they're more on the mild side, and they're not the type of winters that make living miserable and impossible. So but it is a good thing to do, to come up here and experience the winter. Compare budget, of course. A lot of this stuff is, common sense, but just, analyzing your budget and, and what, we'll get into some cost of living statistics so you can kind of see the differences. If you have to sell a home, prepare your home to sell, kind of start interviewing an agent, a listing agent in your area. And that's something that I can help with if you need a good vetted out real estate agent. That's one of the things that I've been able to establish, is a great network of real estate agents in different parts of the region that we live in. So if financing, I think it's important to connect with a lender. I'll share some contacts at the very end of this presentation. It's important to just kind of know what you're looking at and prepare yourself to know what your purchase power is, so that, when it comes to looking at properties, potentially, at least you're within, the parameters of what you qualify for. And that's important. Research healthcare up here, neighborhoods, schools, crime, banks, fitness centers, shopping, all of the things that are maybe involved or important in your life. Just kind of get a feel for all those things. And like I said, in this presentation, I have some of those details for you to kind of reference. Long distance movers, that's a big expense that typically people I think, get surprised with. You got to really understand, the costs associated with a long distance move. Price it out with U-Haul. I've got a couple really good referrals. All of these things that I'm talking about, I've got contacts. So when we do get on a one-on-one call, I can certainly get into a little bit more micro details and specifics and provide you links and resources as well. So that's something I'm happy to do. The commute, whatever job that you are coming here, or you can, if you're retiring, great, don't have to worry about that, but commute time is important. And support systems, churches, sports, hobby groups, whatever, you're involved with. I think, especially if you don't know anybody here, that is a very important thing. That's something that we leveraged ourselves, and it really gave us an opportunity to meet some incredible families. And through our boys' sports, we met some families, and it just has been a great transition. And again, competitive real estate market, it's a huge demand, so it's important to have a plan. And that's where, if we were to get on a one-on-one call, we can kind of work through all of those details. I've been doing this a long time, so I kind of know what pitfalls to look out for and how to prepare accordingly. And like I said, I've gone through and done it myself, so I have a pretty good feel for this. So after the relocation, say you get here, you're in North Idaho, welcome. Small town values, this is definitely a small town feel up here, especially as you start going north up into some of those northern cities and counties. It gets even more small town. Coeur d'Alene is a big city. It's growing. Hayden, the Post Falls area is really, grown a lot. So it still has maybe a busy hustle feel to it, but it's still small relative to some of these major metropolises that people come from. Come here. A lot of these things are things that I've gone through myself, and talking with people who are native here. They really want, they welcome people from different locations. I can't say that was the case when I got here. I'm driving on the freeway with my California plates, and I'm not even paying attention. I'm getting just absolutely slammed on by the horn by people. And I didn't even realize until after I talked to somebody. I'm like, man, why are people honking at me up here on the freeway? I'm like, going speed limit. They're like, they probably saw your California plate. So but people are starting to understand that, more and more people are coming here. They just want you to come here and assimilate, not try to change things, keep things the way people value, value the small town feel, and the politics and the things that they deem important to their existence up here. So I think that's important, to come here and assimilate, not try to change things. They're very patriotic, very pro Second Amendment, just putting it out there. Very conservative in politics. You got, like I said, you got your 4 seasons. There's so much to do. Get here, go out, get outdoors, go experience, the terrain. And that's something that we did when we first got here. We just drove and went everywhere. Some people are, probably have been here before. And, some of the, I know there's people from Washington on this call that probably spent some time here. So some are more familiar, but if you're not, it's definitely good to get out there and go, deal with and experience all the opportunities around here. I won't verbatim everything, I leave these slides up long enough to where you could probably read through it, but the summer activities, the winter activities, everything on there we've experienced and done. And it's fun, it's stuff to look forward to. And, one thing I say in the summer activities, the huckleberries, it's, obviously when I got up here, I wasn't aware of it, but I had a bunch of people, hey, have you gone out and picked huckleberries? No, I haven't. What's that deal? So came across some huckleberry, wild huckleberries on a hike one time, and they're super tasty. So you can go out and pick huckleberries. But yeah, winter activities. There's incredible skiing resorts. We got Schweitzer north of here near Sandpoint. We've got Lookout Pass that's right on the Montana border, about an hour and 10 minutes. And we got Silver Mountain, which is in Kellogg, which is maybe about 40 minutes or so away from Coeur d'Alene. All really great skiing resorts for those who love skiing. Ice fishing, they do that up here. I got a chance to go do some ice fishing over the last couple winters. It's fun. The arts and culture is big up here. There's lots of art exhibits, the outdoor dining, microbreweries, The food here is incredible. I'll tell you what, man, they've got some incredible food. I love it. And they have a Coeur d'Alene car show every year in downtown Coeur d'Alene. It's super cool. They just drive all these, really neat cars in a big circle around the area down Sherman Boulevard, which is the main boulevard in downtown Coeur d'Alene near the resort. And people are friendly here. You just get used to it. I come from a place where I really didn't probably put my hand up as much as I wanted to when it came to being friendly and waving at people. Everybody kind of just was hustling and stayed to themselves. But I say it's okay to wave to your neighbors or a stranger passing by. I've gotten into the habit with everybody that passes me in my neighborhood where I'm just waving at them. So it's got to the point now where everybody that drives by, I'm finding that they're waving back or initiating a wave. So it's kind of a cool thing that I've gotten used to. All right, so I'm going to get into some just kind of nuances about the Panhandle if you're not familiar with it. Here's, the county population. And so I list the 5 counties. So the 5 counties listed here, what makes up the Panhandle. And you could start from the top at Boundary, which is up closest to the Canadian border. And then just below that is Bonner County. That's like where Sandpoint is, and Schweitzer Mountain, as I mentioned. Below that is Kootenai, like a knee. I butchered that a few times and had to be corrected myself, so I got used to that. So that's where Coeur d'Alene is, and Hayden. That's, as you can see, it has grown a lot in population. Shoshone is east of here, and that's where Murray and Kellogg and Wallace is, and then Benoit is down where St. Mary's is. So as you look at the infographic here, it gives you a chance to kind of take in a little bit of some of these counties and cities that I'm talking about. The most populated cities, as you can see here, I just listed the top 10, starting with Coeur d'Alene with the most people. And as you see, Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, and Hayden, and Rathdrum are all in the top 4. And that's, in Kootenai County, which, as I mentioned, is the biggest in terms of population. And then as you start to see, you go up to Bonner and Boundary, you start noticing the populations decreasing. And then as you go, east and south from here down into St. Mary's and Benoit County, the numbers are even lower. So, yeah, I mean, you look at a city and say, 2,400 people, like if you're moving from somewhere in Southern California and you've got 350,000 people in a county, that's, it's pretty crazy when you see certain cities with that amount of people. Here's some cities, in these counties. I just want to, obviously spend time, giving you, how, these cities within these counties, give you a little breakdown. I can go into naming them verbatim, but at least you can go through and read them yourself and just kind of get a sense of where things are at. Like I said, Bonner's Ferry is kind of the most notable up in Bonner's Boundary County, and then Sandpoint's kind of the main city within Bonner. Coeur d'Alene's the main city with Kootenai. I'd say Kellogg probably right there within Shoshone, and then St. Mary's is kind of the main. Those are the main cities within those counties. Major lakes and rivers, we got, within, each county, I listed, the major lakes and the major river systems. You've got tons of little lakes, you've got tons of little rivers, but these are the main arteries, the main lakes. And Lake Pend d'Oreille, I know people have sometimes when they'll pronounce it, they'll struggle with pronouncing it, so it's pronounced Lake Pend d'Oreille. That's an incredible lake. It's the biggest lake in North Idaho. They actually have submarines that they do training with submarines in that lake, and I think the deepest part of that lake is like 1,200 or 1,300 feet deep. So it's a pretty amazing lake, and definitely have spent some time up there and really love it up there. So moving ahead. Okay, so here's some cost of living data. Getting into maybe just some specifics about the cost of living. So as you can see below, the total cost of living as compared to the national average comes in well below what you would expect to pay elsewhere, making Idaho an incredibly affordable place to live. The total cost savings as compared to the national average comes in around 31% less. But as you go through there, you'll see the housing number higher than the average. And as I mentioned before, that's where we're seeing these, the values of these homes going through the roof. So that's definitely a major expense on the line item. But the rest of the categories allow you to kind of absorb that. So it'll, gives you an opportunity to save here and there, and maybe make the housing part of your budget more doable. Here's an example that I used, and it's from San Diego. You'll see just from moving from San Diego to Coeur d'Alene, there's a major difference in cost of living in each category. As you can see off to the right, the difference, everything is less by significant number. So I have some links on there that are good to use with comparing where you're moving from to Coeur d'Alene, or to not necessarily Coeur d'Alene. I'm using that as the main kind of city up here, but you could put in Sandpoint, or you could put in Bonners Ferry. And these links, I've actually put together a pretty comprehensive document with a lot of different links and departments and things like that. So you have everything in possession to do your due diligence. That's part of what I wanted to do with this relocation webinar, is just to give you as much information to chew on. And then, of course, if we don't get to cover everything, we can follow up with a one-on-one call and go into some more detail. So county median sales price and property tax per county. So as you can see, Kootenai represents the highest median sales price at $540,000. Bonner County, which is just north, at $500,000, and then up in Boundary, $419,000. And then as you go south and east, that number is reduced dramatically, just because it's on the outskirts of, I would probably say convenient living. Not to say that as you go north, south, or east, it's completely inconvenient, but like for people who are used to having everything just so centrally located, it's a change, and you got to get used to that. And sometimes if you move to something that's more outskirts, you got to plan accordingly. And we've got Costco in Coeur d'Alene, but if you live in Kellogg in Shoshone County, you got to make that drive, or you go to a local store. Maybe prices are a little bit higher, and it may be worth the trip to go shopping, maybe in Coeur d'Alene, because you get a better deal. So that's just kind of something to think about. Let me hold on. I think I backed up. So property tax rate. I also wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. I was going to mention that I moved forward, but that's the property tax percentage that you can expect when it comes to whatever purchase price of a property that you're purchasing. That's how you'll calculate that, is based on that number. Okay, so income and sales tax. This is the Idaho personal income tax rates. I'm imagining most everybody's going to be over that income level when it comes to the highest income bracket. So you're looking at right around 6.5%. So depending on where you're coming from, there's some no income tax. I know Washington's that way. Nevada, a couple other states, you can get away with no income tax, but Idaho is about 6.5%. Sales tax, we're right at 6%. We're nationally ranked right around number 17. So at least you can see where we're at there. Homeowners exemption. This is something that I think is a cool caveat, that if you purchase a property and in North Idaho, you get a nice $125,000 homeowners exemption. If you own and occupy a home as your primary residence, you can qualify for a homeowner's exemption for that home and up to 1 acre of land. You only need to apply once. And kind of the way it works, for example, you purchase a home in Coeur d'Alene, and the total amount of the property tax that George owes is calculated like this: 100% of the market value of this house is $600,000. 100% of the market value of his half-acre lot in which the house sits on is 150. So now that brings us up to about 650. I think I actually messed the math up. So it's basically $650,000 of a purchase, and then you reduce that 650,000 by 125,000. So that would give you a tax basis of $525,000. So that would be what you would be calculating your property tax on. So that's a nice little caveat that helps with that homeowner's expense that I wanted to make sure to mention. All right, so hospitals, moving costs, schools, crime, weather, and transportation. Kind of just get into some of these details. County hospitals, these are the county hospitals that you can look into, research, depending on what your particular need is. These are the main ones. There's lots of clinics. Healthcare is big up here, so lots of specialty hospitals. I'm listing just the main kind of county hospitals, but there's plenty of other options up here, not just limited to these county hospitals. Moving costs. These are factors that, like I said, are important to take into consideration. I'm giving kind of some average costs to consider. The national average costs, and I think $4,560 is a national average, but it all depends. This is kind of open to really how big of a move you are doing. The distance, the size of the home that you're purchasing. That's a major variable when it comes to pricing out a move. And so this is something that I think is really important to do when it comes to relocating, is really spend some time drilling into these long distance moving companies. Look at U-Haul. We ended up just doing U-Haul, my family, and what we did is, instead of moving the entire house, we just kind of decided, okay, what's important? What do we want to take with us? And get rid of things that we felt we can get rid of. Obviously, you're going to have your sentimental things, but we really, really, really leaned down and sold a bunch of stuff through like Facebook Marketplace, and had garage sales, and created a small cash position so that when we came up here, we were able to get everything in a reasonable size U-Haul truck, and saved a ton of money that way. I know some people may not have that ability to do, but I think for consideration and strategy, I think it's worth mentioning, especially since we went through that process ourselves and saved ourselves a ton of money. When you hire a long distance company, they come in and they pack everything up for you. They drive it up here. They move it into your house. Don't get me wrong, that is very attractive, because especially when you're doing it all yourself, you're packing it up and you're moving it all in. It's can be overwhelming. But even if you got a U-Haul truck and you packed it all up yourself, there's companies up here that specialize in coming in and unloading it for you. So when we got here, we were exhausted. We were like, forget the unpacking. We don't want to deal with that. So I was like, all right, if there's ever a good time to spend a little bit of money, there's certain things that I think are worth it, and that was one of them. Moving forward, so here's the North Idaho school districts. Contact information, website information. I went and custom created all of these little, Excel spreadsheets of information to have in a nice, handy, convenient, format. So, like I said, I'm not going to go in verbatim all this information, but I do want you to know that I do have this available, and I will be more than happy to share all this with you, so that you're not having to go and do all the research. I did all the research for you. Okay, here's a fun little thing that I did. These are the distances from Coeur d'Alene. Gives you a little sense of where we're located in the Panhandle. The Washington border is west of here. It's about a 20-minute drive to the border. The international airport, Spokane International Airport, it's a 42-minute drive. Sandpoint's north from here. That's up in Bonner. That's about 55 minutes away. Shoshone County, which you mentioned, is to our are east. That's like Mulan City, the city of Milan, or Mullen. I'm sorry. I said Mulan. I've said that I made that mistake many times. It's Mullen. That is an hour east from here. So the border of Montana is about an hour, hour and 10-minute drive. And St. Mary's is in Benoit County. That's about an hour drive. So everything's kind of about an hour drive if you're going north, east, and west. The only, obviously, if you're going north, to get to Bonners Ferry, that's about an hour and a half. And then the Canadian border is about 2 hours away. So, I mean, we're really up there when it comes to the, location. We're, not too far away from the Canadian border, and we're not too far away from some national parks. Glacier National Park is about a 4-hour drive northeast from here. It's absolutely incredible. Spent some time in Glacier this last summer, and we're going to go again this summer. Going to probably make that an annual trip. It's absolutely amazing there. Seattle, Washington's not too far, 4.5 hours away. Boise is about a 6.5-hour drive south from here, and then of course Yellowstone. But it's a little bit further away, but gives you a little context as far as how far the drive is to those locations. Here's some DMV offices. These are, again, on a spreadsheet that I can send to you when we do a one-on-one call and spend some time going through your situation. Airports near Coeur d'Alene, of course, like I said, you got the Spokane International is about 40 minutes away, 45 minutes depending on traffic. Then of course, like, some airports in Washington and Idaho, Lewiston, Idaho, and Missoula, Montana. Those are depending on, where you're located or where you want to fly into or out of. Those are options as well. The climate in North Idaho, I know this is a big question. Here's a chart with rainfall and snowfall and precipitation and how many sunny days a year you get and average temperatures and elevation. So I put this together for all of the counties. Bonner and Boundary, as I was going through and looking at it, I didn't realize that it was actually spot on. There may be a small discrepancy there. I don't think too much, but as I'm looking at it, I believe that I did go to the specific counties for the data, but they may be that accurate in terms of the same amount of rainfall and snowfall in terms of averages. But Kootenai County, of course, in Coeur d'Alene is where I'm from. The snowfall, 45 inches of snowfall during the winter. I'd say that it's probably been on the lower end of that over the last couple 2-3 years. It's been a little bit more mild, and they do a great job up here when it comes to taking care of roads. Now, don't get me wrong. Some locations, as you go into maybe a little bit more remote areas, they're less attentive to the roads. So you'll run into situations where you're, definitely driving on ice and some slush as you go north and south and east. But for the most part, when it comes to the main roads, the most traveled roads, the bus routes, the roads that people need to drive on, those get a lot of attention. They've got snow fleets in the droves up here. I mean, when it's a snow event, you're driving around. I mean, they've got the city, the county fleets, they've got private contracted fleets, and they knock it out. They get things in pretty good shape. And so you're not having to deal with the pain of hazardous conditions. It's you can get around and your quality of life doesn't change. I know a lot of people are wondering how weather impacts living. And I come from a very sunny climate, Southern California, and I've found it to be very doable. And I've never found myself getting frustrated or, oh man, I made a mistake moving up here. This is a joke. It's not like that at all. It's actually very reasonable. We're in kind of like this banana belt of a weather pocket that gets definitely gets its winter weather, but it's not like when you go east into Montana. I mean, that gets pretty bad in certain areas of Montana. But that's as you've probably got a chance to already study that chart. Moving forward, we're almost done here. Here's some stats. Just wanted to kind of get into a couple statistical categories. And this is the most recent local market update as of February. The March statistics will come out soon. This represents both new construction and previously owned. So as you see right here, new construction. Like I mentioned, the new construction is down just a little bit from last year. New construction, there's still opportunities, and there's builders, of course, that are doing everything they can to get things built. But keep in mind, we're in a region that is challenged by the winter, so they're just doing everything they can and scrambling to get everything they can done within that window of opportunity. And then when it comes to the winter months, they'll have to take breaks and wait for certain weather conditions to pass, and then they'll get back on it. So that kind of impacts versus some other area of the country has no weather issues. They can knock things out pretty quickly. But as you see here, one of the numbers right here, percent of list price received. So as you could see here, last year in 2021, they were getting anywhere, right around 101.3% of list price. So that would basically mean that was 1.3% above list price was average in terms of what people were paying for new construction. It's gone down a little bit, but it's pretty well close to the, still right at list price. So what we're seeing properties listed at, people are making the offer at that price, and that's what it's being sold at. I'll send these stat sheets to you again in an email and follow up with more specific details. I want to kind of do a high level overview so we can at least get through this presentation. I know I've kind of gone a little bit over what I'd like to go, but I'm almost done here. So this is previously owned. As you go down again, this is real quick. This is all of North Idaho. So it includes Boundary, Bonner, Kootenai, Shoshone, and Benoit County. So I covered everything. I can actually send you a statistical sheet just like this, specific to Kootenai or Bonner, depending on where you want to live. I can give you a very specific statistical sheet so you can understand what those prices look like and what to expect. So as we go into previously owned, again, look at this number, percent of list price received, 2.4% above ask price in 2021. That's when things were crazy, when everything that went on the market, it was being sold immediately, multiple offers, way above ask price. We're starting to see it trend back. We're at 99.3%. So again, expectations when it comes to making an offer, typically we like to try to make an offer pretty close to ask price. It all depends case by case. I'm a strategist. I don't like just, especially when it comes to your money, I take a huge responsibility when it comes to, you spending your money. So I'm going to do everything I can to get you the best deal possible. So I'm not just, talking about these statistics and saying, hey, we need to offer ask price. If there is a situation where we can get away with offering less, we're going to do it. And we'll know as we come across those opportunities. Median sales price on new construction and previously owned, as you can see from, back in 2011, it's just trended, it's like a hockey stick projection. It's just trended up the whole time over every year. So, will it continue to trend up? Idaho, I think I say it is a uniquely insulated market when it comes to the rest of the country, where you might find different parts of the country. We may run into, market corrections. I still believe that North Idaho is uniquely insulated. We'll see not necessarily any type of catastrophic collapses in prices. So, when it comes to like timing of, okay, should I get into the market now? I'm afraid that it's at the top of the market. I think that's a reasonable concern. I'm not saying that we don't take that into consideration, but I also think that this particular marketplace has the kind of demand that's going to keep things stable. We don't have any ridiculous loans, exotic loans that have collapsed the market back in 2008, 2009. But at the same time, we're going to start seeing some rate adjustments that will have an impact on affordability. And as more and more sellers start to feel like, hey, maybe this is my opportunity to get the most out of my property, I'm going to put my home on the market now. We'll start seeing inventory increase, and what that will do is it'll create a little bit more stability and balance in the market, not make it just an absolute seller's market like it is right now. There is a little bit of a receding going on at what I call a joust between sellers and buyers. Buyers are still willing to pay, and they're still buying, but they're a lot more cautious. They're on the doorstep of caution right now. When it comes to just, they're not reckless like they were back. I feel like in 2021, I'd classify it as a reckless type of market. It was just crazy. Here's some financing options. As I mentioned, these are individuals that I use, and I find that the customer experience with them is always very favorable. If you've got your own lender that you use, great. I'm not opposed to anybody. Like if somebody you have a relationship with, great, that's perfect. These are just recommendations that I use from my clients when I'm working with clients. This Beeline Mortgage, this is kind of a unique product, and I wanted to mention it when it came to the strategy of being a competitive market and cash buyers. And hey, I've got a house I have to sell first before I can even make an offer. This is an opportunity to leverage your property and use a loan that is strategically set up to where you can make an offer and use a bridge loan to be non-contingent. And this infographic kind of gets into the details, but essentially it's kind of like a home equity line of credit. It's a bridge loan, but they essentially will do a loan up to 90% of your value, give you the money that you need to make a down payment. Of course, this loan closes. You could have your house on the market, but not have, the concern that, well, I have to write an offer that, shows I have to sell my house first. This at least gives you an advantage, a foot in the door. He's available to get into some more specifics about that loan product. So new construction, like I talked about earlier, it's still an opportunity up here. Don't get me wrong. New construction there's a lot of lots of incredible opportunities with certain builders, custom home builders, some smaller builders up here. But, one thing I want to mention, if you do decide that you're looking to get into a new construction, home, let me help you there. There's just certain things about that, that I can, it's favorable. And again, I'm obviously jockeying for myself as a real estate agent to help you there, but there is strategic advantages working directly with a realtor representing you, because they're in their best interest. I mean, at the end of the day, the builder is trying to maximize their profitability, just like a seller and a listing agent is trying to maximize their profitability. I always say that when you're working with a seller or a builder, they'll make you feel like they're going to look out for your best interest, but at the end of the day, their fiduciary responsibility is with their seller and the builder and their products. So I can help navigate that process for you and be your liaison in that process. Here's top things to do while visiting North Idaho. Just kind of give you some stuff to do while here if you decided to come and visit and spend some time in the area. I like to be, I've started using it more and more, but I like to kind of be like a concierge where I kind of point you in the right direction. So if you're coming this direction, not only will I help you with your real estate goals, but I want to be somebody who kind of be your eyes and ears and boots on the ground. And hey, go to this restaurant, go to this location, take your family here, or experience this. And a lot of the stuff I've done myself. So I speak with experience when I kind of make some recommendations, but I want to be somebody that really can be comprehensive in your overall experience in maybe trying to move to North Idaho. So when it comes to coming here, take advantage of all the great things that North Idaho has to offer. This picture is in Schweitzer Mountain. Looks like they're having like an outdoor festival event. There's a lot of those outdoor type festivals up here. All right, so again, I'd love to talk more with you. So book a one-on-one call with me. I just posted it again in the chat box. Just click on that, set a time that works for you. I'm not a high pressure guy. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not, there's a lot of agents that what I would call have commission breath. There's kind of a common phrase for it where they're so focused on trying to, earn a commission out of you that they hustle you, and they just, they're really not looking out for your best interest. I'm not trying to disparage every real estate agent out there. There are so many great agents out there. At the end of the day, I'm just one of many, but I also like to pride myself in my experience, comprehensive experience, from relocating myself to being in the business as long as I have, and just really understanding what it takes to accomplish, a big goal like that. And I'm a great negotiator. I take pride in communication, and I think if you were to book a one-on-one call with me, you'll see that I'm your advocate. Whatever it is, even if I didn't make a commission off you, because at the end of the day, that's how I make money as a real estate agent. But even if I didn't make any money off you, I'm not about that. I want to help, and that's really my goal at the end of the day, and that's being sincere. I also have a relocation magazine that I created, and this is something that is a nice relocation guide. It's got a lot of really good information. I can send that to you as my free gift to you for joining me on today's webinar. I really appreciate you joining. I also, like I said, I'm the owner of North Idaho Waterfront. I'm sorry, just clicked the wrong thing. I'm the owner of North Idaho Waterfront. It's a very comprehensive, it's not just waterfront, it's every property listed in North Idaho marketplace. And I have the North Idaho Waterfront.com. This is specifically for our webinar. So make sure if you were to go to the website, click on that specific link that'll take you to the website. It gives you an opportunity to search all the properties up here, land, available homes, non-waterfront type properties, and it'll keep you up to date on what's available in real time. It's one of the most visited websites in North Idaho. I'm very proud of it. I worked hard on it. It's user friendly, and it's something I think you'll find as a very useful tool. And again, I just wanted to thank you for joining me this evening on the webinar. I am grateful for your time, and very much looking forward to helping you with your goals in possibly relocating. So I don't know if anybody has, I'll go back through and just, like I said, I wanted to answer some specific questions for anybody. I know that we talked about, is it dog friendly? Yes, it's very dog friendly. Lots of dog parks all over the place. Let's see, going through here, how different is the home buying process in Idaho versus California? You know what? I would probably argue to say that it's probably pretty similar, depending on, the location and the demand. I know California is still, it's hot. It's a hot market. I'm still in contact with a lot of my colleagues that I, worked with, and prices are going through the roof. I think it's all relative to location. I think that probably there's certain parts of California that, people are still very much wanting to be in. And so in terms of the process itself, I think, in North Idaho, it's just, as I mentioned before, all of the different nuances of this marketplace. It's just being prepared accordingly with, and having the right expectations. Sold, love car shows, Kelly. Awesome. Yeah, it's super cool. We hit it every year. It's super fun. I love it. I really appreciate, thank you for saying, this is amazing information. I appreciate you sharing that. Let's see. Thank you, Bev and Craig. They were a client of mine that I helped close on a property in November up in Athol, and they found their dream home, and wonderful people. That's the one part about this business that I can truly say is that I really do take a pride in my relationships and everybody that I work with. I always end up finding them to be friends of mine when it's all said and done. And there's wonderful, wonderful people. So is there any other questions? Directly type them in the chat box below, and we will, I can certainly answer more questions if I didn't get into something specific in the presentation. I am going to say that I did notice a missing slide when it came to crime. This is a relatively safe area in regards to different parts of the country. It's a very safe area up here. Again, it's not immune to crime, but it's also, I would classify it as a much safer area. And so I don't really experience anything that directly impacts my family or gives me any types of concerns, but there's always going to be issues and there's always going to be crime scenarios. So I will provide that link on the document as well. Thank you, Jada, appreciate it. Let's see, are there any issues with radon or toxic soils in North Idaho? Really good question, Dan. So radon is definitely more prevalent up here. It's something that in this region, it's it is here, and so it's certain areas are going to have higher radon readings. And for those of you who are not aware of radon, it is it's kind of like a carcinogen type of cancer-causing type of gas fusion that kind of comes from the land. Obviously, it's only harmful when it's consolidated into a very tight, confined area, namely a home. And what you do to get around it is they've got mitigation systems that circulate the home. They'll put them in basements and stuff like that. And it's measured in pico per curie liters. And the FDA recommends anything above, I believe, a 3% or 3 pico per curie liter that you do mitigation measures for radon. So as far as toxic soil issues, east here in the Kellogg, it's a Superfund site. They used to do a lot of mining up there. And so I think that Shoshone County is a little bit more, I would classify, if there is toxic soil issues, it's going to be in the Shoshone County region up in Kellogg and that area. Like I said, it was a major mining town, and they didn't have very good practices when it came to those when it came to keeping the soil clean, and the river systems obviously transported toxic materials. So that I can say is the fact. But they've done a very good job. This Superfund site is it has been improved and cleaned up significantly over the years, and but that is something to consider. Let's see, is the radon issue why many of the new homes don't have basements? That's a good question. That's possible. I can't say with any level of certainty that's why they may have, started to build without basements. But at the same time, I've seen a lot of basements being built with new construction homes and projects from different builders. So I still think basements are being put in, but again, the radon, I know it sounds scary, but you put the right mitigation system in, and it's a non-factor. I mean, it's not like you're walking around in this toxic cloud of radon and you're dealing, everything obviously out in the open is very much diluted. It's only when you're in kind of a consolidated area, like I said, a home, that you want to kind of be careful with that. Let's see. I don't see any other questions. If there's any other questions, feel free to put it in the chat box. A gallon of gas up here is like $3.97, at least in Kootenai County right now. I know that's a big deal. it's still high. I mean, no matter how you put it, it's still high. They make you, they start to condition you to make you think that you're getting a good deal, when in fact you're like, no, $3.97 is a lot of money. I mean, when we first got here, it was like $1.15. So yeah, when I'm talking from what it is now to what we were paying back not too long ago, it's up there. The closest colleges nearby, I'm just kind of bringing up some stuff to kind of mention. The closest colleges, we got North Idaho College, which is local here. Spokane Falls Community College, which is 35 minutes away from here. We got Gonzaga. We've got Lewis and Clark down in Lewiston. Those got Montana University over in Missoula, Montana. That's a couple hours away. Dan, do most of the gas stations sell diesel? Yes, they do. And you know what? I don't remember, because I don't purchase diesel. I don't really know exactly what that number is, but I can actually I can look and find out for you. But yes, they do sell diesel here. So unless there's any other questions, I went way over. I'll become more efficient over time, but I'm hopeful this was a helpful overview. I tried to get as much information as I could into this presentation, but like I said, let's book a one-on-one call. And thanks, Dan. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining. Let's book a one-on-one call. Let's talk. Whatever your goals are. Your timing may not be now. It may be down the road. And I'm happy to discuss whatever that looks like for you. So I hope you all have a blessed day. I am thankful for you joining me on this presentation, and we will talk soon. Bye.